Benji Cordy is here with us. Benji Cordy is here. We have a lot of other gentlemen here waiting to get on. Okay. I don't know, Pablo, that box looks a little unstable. A little bit of a balancing act.
I'm here looking after it.
All right. Just keeping the balance. Everybody, we have Delata. Mr. Christensen, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Hoping you have some questions as well.
But we need to give him a mic. He needs to mic up. Because otherwise the voice is going to be very low. Give him a signal. I'll give him this. Yeah, give him this.
I'm supposed to be recording my business partner for social media too, so I need to do this.
We got questions, man.
Did you hear me, Chris? No, you're good. Hey, you're the boss. I'm not going to work around you. You just get what you want.
Okay.
1, 2, test.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I think my care's about to break.
Yeah. Jesse, what the hell are you doing?
1, 2, 3, test.
Jessica's going to kill me.
Testing.
I got to do this for Jessica.
All right, we have as a mediator here, Mr. Rick Phelps. He's going to make sure that before anybody puts on boxing gloves or headgear and mouthpieces, that they're all certified by the UFC. No, I'm just kidding. Take it away. So what we're going to be doing, guys, is on that side, we got a couple microphones for anybody who would like to come and participate, ask some questions. You guys can come closer into the space, and we can field the questions that we have. What we were going to do first, Benji and I, we were going to talk about traditional equipment. As you all know, Benji is an expert in the industry.
That's right.
He's an expert technician as well as trainer.
This is live on Facebook.
He's in the industry for
They had it
give us a little bit of bio.
The reason Bill and I kind of get along like we do is we have really similar background. I never really connected with you. Right there? Okay. So what I was saying is my background is really similar to Joe's, as we both lived in Italy, speak Italian, Spanish, and we work on equipment, not just sold equipment. So we kind of take like a technical approach, and we really understand what these machines have to do in your shop. What are the fail points? What are the drawbacks? What are the positive things? So we always hit that off. Obviously, you know, they're green and orange, I'm blue. So we're all pulling the rope in the same direction. You know, like we're all sponsors, or guardian sponsors. What does that mean? We're supposed to protect this industry from, you know, making bad decisions, making wrong decisions, and that's where we've always kind of shot it straight. And that's something that we have in common. And he asked me to come on. I'm not sure, you know, I'm the only one here, but I'm kind of nice, you know.
Well, I was hoping that other folks from traditional fabrication companies would have joined us, but unfortunately, there's none here yet. Now we're going to be here till about 4 o'clock, a little bit past 4. So hopefully, we're going to be doing this again tomorrow afternoon. So our intention is to have discussion, clear the air, kind of some questions, because I've noticed that a lot of people that don't have our machines are experts in hybrid. And I just want to make sure that it's clear the process on how the hybrid works and a lot of the nuances, as well as highlight some of the great things that are happening on the traditional side on machines that are coming out too, with new things that haven't been done before.
Forgive me, Joe. I might not be able to stay till 4 because I have a day job. I just can't wait to chop it up and go through everything that we're going to talk about and talk about your stuff. I'm going to ask you questions that probably a lot of people are wondering, and it's you've always been really good at explaining it to where it clicks. And you know, there's a play for everybody in this industry. I think if it was one machine or one company that did everything for everyone, that'd be the only one. So it's you know, it's good to have some competition, healthy competition, and really just kind of highlight what we're doing, what you're doing, what the industry is doing, what people are looking for when they're looking for, you know, a piece of equipment. You know, where does that fit in? How does that work in their environment, or is there an adjustment to the environment? Because I think that's what you guys are doing. You're looking past the machine. You're looking at the process, where most people kind of stop and say, hey, look, this is the machine you need. You gotta, you know, this is what you need. And I think you guys are showing, you know, with the capital side, you know, you're breaking down some barriers that maybe other people are even taking.
Right, the consulting helps us because it's not just we drop a machine. A lot of people think, I'm going to get a machine that's going to solve all my problems. And no matter what machine it is, you got to have the right processes, the right SOPs, the right workflow, the right staging. You got to be prepared. You got to have the information in your job. So what happens with our process is that because it's so different, it's drastically different, there's a lot of hand-holding that needs to happen because you're switching a whole mentality from what we're all used to, really. And that's just not dropping the machine in your place. That's also giving you the guidance, the SOPs, and the systems to kind of help you make that transition.
That's something that you hear a lot of people say. They're like, this is nothing new. You know, like 5-axis, bridge saw, you know, kind of with the ISO change. That's been around. And you know that, I know that. We've made them, they've made them. What I think you guys have highlighted is the material handling side of it. Because, you know, I'll talk to people that are looking at my machinery and they want to buy another saw, they want to buy another router, and I ask them, do you have a crane, or how are you moving pieces around? And then they kind of stare at me with a blank stare. And I'm like, look, talk to me after you get an overhead crane or some type of solution to move the parts around. Then they call me back to like, you don't even sell bridge or overhead cranes. And sorry, but I don't need a machine anymore. So much more effective in getting the pieces on and off. And obviously that's what you guys are really focusing on is the material handling.
Okay, before you go on, there's a gentleman down there in the red.
So we want to introduce you guys. A lot of you guys have probably never heard of Jesse Harrell from Assured Flooring, but in case you haven't, Jesse Harrell is one of the first pioneers. He's a great friend of mine. Doesn't work for Poseidon, but Jesse Harrell is a gentleman that was doing about $1 million in sales a year in countertops for Remax, and I was lucky enough to have him trust me with a phone call when I sold him a used Breton with installation and training and warranty for about $70,000 with tooling.
Man, that was so much money, dude. It
Well,
still is.
And I told him, I said, I'm going to come by and offload the machine for you and install it for you. And I don't know if you really believe that, but I'm sure you've had those conversations with people where you're building a relationship and a trust and you say, don't worry, who's going to come and install it for me, Ben? I'm going to come.
I mean, those days are over. You know, I had my own service company, it's called Powertech, in 2014 through, actually before that. After I worked for Tom Dooley originally, and I started seeing past that. And a lot of customers were asking me for professional services or getting the machinery in or out, or updating, training. And that's something that there is a lot more people do. I know that like global, strong, that's a huge play. I wish we're honest with that because everybody's always asking, hey, can you help me get rid of this? Can you help me get rid of that? And this is not something that we do, so we have to lean on people like, you know, Justin, Global.
Global does a great job on equipment in general. There's great solutions for some of that stuff, and we also do a great job on the new side. I'm trying to think, Global and I have a great history where we're actually one of those team witnesses of how many CNC routers we install whole truck packages together. I want to open the truck. Right, Jeff? We do bridge saws, edge machines. They were all different flavors, different brands.
Absolutely.
And we made it happen. We did a CNC and we installed training. We came up with a prorated warranty. Remember that?
Yep.
The prorated warranty not only works, if we sold a CNC for $100,000, a brand new, it's $200,000. For 9 months, if something broke or was a defect, we were on 50% of the part. We're getting a new part, so we didn't want to save that. And that workshops at your phones. Like, how many machines have you sold today?
Hundreds.
Hundreds, right? That's the business owner. Because so Jesse, I sold him equipment, and we built on from there. When I was deciding, he came back and was like, man, I think this betting on trade. And Jess was like, hey, never take anything on trade.
So tell us more, Jesse.
Okay, well, first, guys, thank y'all for letting me be up here. It's an honor to be up here with Benji. I definitely pay attention to everything you say and do, and you're very knowledgeable, very smart. But I'm an owner-operator, which I think is very rare in my size shop. We cut somewhere around 25 slabs a day, and usually when a shop's that size, you're not going to see one of the owners in the shop actually operating the equipment. So I think that's the benefit from me being up there. I might not have the experience that you guys have with all different types of machines, but I'm an owner, I'm an operator, I'm a fan of the hybrid cycle. Of course, that led to me being a T-Rex fan, but I'm that process. I'm in love with the process. I think that it's the most efficient way to fabricate stone. It just so happens that the T-Rex is the only machine that I know of that completely I really emphasize in my shop. And so I'm excited to be able to answer any questions if y'all have any.
Maybe we segue there and talk about what's the difference.
So first we want to cover a little bit mechanics. Let's talk about that, Benji, because you're an expert in mechanics, and from bottom east, I think some of the best machines in the industry.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and that's how I ended up there. I worked for Columbia first. I had my own service company, was working on anything, and then I got picked up by GMS, and that's where I kind of realized, like, okay, there's a lot of great equipment out there, and the main thing is people want to be taken care of. You know that some people are choosing machines just based on the service, right? So when CMS approached me, they're like, hey, do you want to be in sales? I told them, not really, I'm a pet, but I want to do something different. I want to see, what else I can do with this skill set. And it ended up being one of the best things I did. I mean, I got to thank Saba and Kevin Moberly for bringing me on, because they sold it hard. But, I haven't looked back, and I've been very successful doing what I do with the approach that, hey, we're selling a really good product. We invented the CNC router in 1985. The double-sided vacuum cut, the continuous C rotation on CNCs, along with other things. We're the only one with an underbridge tool rack for faster tool changes, and we have a machine that's called a speed, the router. So it's one of the fastest rapids in the industry. And that's kind of where we make up some of the things that you guys are eliminating, let's say. You're employing the full slab and then cutting, removing the in-between pieces with the slabs, right, for that yield situation. But this is where everybody tries to fight, right? We made a machine like that 20 years ago. They've all made machines like this, and it was kind of a fad, not a fad, but it was something that came and went because people saw it for a very niche market. We had the Maximum BNP, and Saba came up with this. It was called the vertical nesting technology, where it had hydraulic pneumatic pods. But it was a little bit funky, because if you put the wrong pod in the wrong place, it was very complex. I mean, when you got it right, it was the true hybrid cycle. Sorry to say that. But it was literally put a slab down side by side on the cut. I got you. So like this, you put the slab down, you make a cut here, the pods would drop, and you could route that piece, same cut out, that would drop, this piece would come back up. But if you put the wrong pod in the wrong spot, you had a problem. So we all know that fabricators want to keep things simple. So it's like we innovated and we made all these technological advances that were kind of over people's heads. Let's be honest. Like people now, like even the micro, the Italians that are coming, why are we making this machine so little? It only does the thing. And really, it's been like our best seller. I sold 22 of those 2 years ago because it was at the right price. People were like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. But in an innovative mentality, we're going backwards. we took away some control of the fabricators with a machine that does the hardest job in the shop, and your kids can run it, or somebody off the street. I found mine in New Jersey, and he called me, he goes, hey, my tent is having some issues. Can you call it? What's the name of it? Oh, it's my tent worker for a tent agency. These are guys that are getting back on their feet. They go there every week, grab 2 different guys, they give them my cheat sheet, and they run a CNC doing 36 a day. That's not innovation, but that's innovative using the relevant labor pool that you have in areas, because we all know not everyone's an engineer in these shops, right? And that's where there's a disconnect between European shops. They go to school for this. Here it's
Yeah, in Europe they all have like machine shops, which we used to have post World War II. I think it's in like the 60s there, kind of in the States. So there were sensor mechanics that did the same thing in the US. We have a design customer, private customer that has no experience in the strong industry and he's running motorcycles on tour. I think it's a lot to desire too, but yeah, the mechanical background, European, we do it a little bit better too, because it's quick machine shop.
Hey, Jesse, could you talk about the importance of simplicity?
Well, yeah, I definitely think that's the key to the cycle in the process itself. So one of my favorite things to bring up and favorite points to make about this process is how easy it is to manage. When you have a water jet, a 5-axis saw, and a router, you have 3 operators, and those 3 operators all performing 3 different processes. They're all running 3 different machines, and everybody that runs a machine understands you learn that machine and you kind of learn its quirks, you learn how to keep it going efficiently, and when something goes wrong, troubleshoot it. And so when you have a shop to where you have 3 different people, 3 different machines doing 3 different processes, it's hard to manage. One guy doesn't show up, or that guy wants a raise. He really has you in a position where you have to service them more than they need to service you sometimes. And when you're able to create a process like this, it's one operator. He's doing the same thing every day. It doesn't matter how complicated the job is. It doesn't matter the technical side of the job. He is learning how to set vacuum pods based off a laser, and he's learning how to set a slab down and hit play. He does not need to know all the quirks of every little machine in the shop to keep the job going. It's what I've enjoyed. It's allowed me to step back from my shop, because even though I have 3 machines, which it takes 3 machines to do my production, it's all my operators are performing the same tasks. So if one's not getting along or not following the program, it's really easy to just bring another one, because I got 2 more guys that 100% understand how to perform the process and work side by side and teach them. So from a simplicity side of, you got one machine running one way, no matter how many feet you're doing, it's one process. It makes it a lot simpler to manage.
Are you basically agreeing with Benji that said he's able to take somebody off, the client is able to take somebody off the street from a temporary agency and teach him?
Yes, we used to bring in our most skilled person to run our machines. Our 5-axis saw and our 3-axis router. We felt like this guy had to have a lot of experience to even be able to put pieces on the machine. And our most inexperienced guys, they show up on day 1. We show them how to run the vacuum system, and they're working day 2 very efficiently. So I definitely think it takes the skill needed to get the jobs done. Now don't get me wrong, you do have to have a leader that understands tooling and sequences and keep the polish going, but that's every CNC route.
I just want to mention so if you guys own a branded shop, in the past, this is one of the challenges that before we did the T-Rex and the hybrid cycle, we sold traditional machinery for over 10 years, easily. And one of the complaints is like, my ops manager, he's got to manage the guys better. And I go, yeah, but to be fair, the ops manager, that means that he'd have to learn every machine in the shop. And it's not realistic for an operations manager to learn a water jet, to learn a CNC saw that's got cut and move, to learn a 3-axis router, to learn the meter, all these machines. To really manage it well, an office manager has to learn all those machines so that he can build the KPIs, the metrics, the measure production. Now, the nice thing about this machine is that it's only one. So like what you're saying, in your shop, there's only one CNC operator job description. There's only one machine to learn.
KPI is the same for everybody.
The ops manager or the owner can learn the machine and go through the training and understand what it is to manage it.
What I think is working with besides you guys is that you guys have made a process that is standardized, because the reality is in a manufacturing environment, you really want to do specialization, right? Like David Smith, like the father of the Industrial Revolution, division of labor. They looked at like a nail making factory where the guy cuts a piece of metal, then he shapes it, then he puts a head on it, he pulls it, he sharpens it. And even Henry Ford, the assembly line. So unless you have a process that you can show like a job description, because a lot of these jobs, it's kind of loosey, like, hey, I'm throwing you at the saw, and you're gonna start as like a table tech doing the pods, and then you start to raster. But it comes back to training and how are you setting up people for success, right? Because I'll be honest, the WCAM's never been something that I thought was the next best thing, but I've seen what you guys did with it. It's all about the overlay and the experience of using it and a process-driven manufacturing.
Yeah, any software can get clunky. I'll be honest, the WCAM, graphically, aesthetically, it's not really up to date. However, as far as power and what the software can do, it's really software you can I can do a one cycle, I can put a slide, I can do the whole planning job, I can extend traffic, and everything we do on highway out. Then I can apply sequences to the policy, the tools,
Modify the sequences.
and then I can add in gradient and volume and sequences so that everything is into one process. So truly it's powerful. And we have this. Another thing too, is that we're not yet, everybody else has done 5-axis routers, which is popular company machines. We haven't patented it. We're not patenting a machine, it's a machine. All these things though is in terms of machine. It's totally process. And at the end of the day, what the hybrid cycle is it's the only single process that works right now. In the whole industry. Everything else is what we call manufacturing split processes. So you're cutting, always cutting. And then you're moving stuff to the router. That opens you up to uncertainty, moving pieces around in the shop, possible breakage, and then other things like mispositioning into the new machine unless you use pin stops, which one way you do. So this is the only single process. Love pin stops, but your computers are hybrid. You have pin stop like accuracy with a laser projector. Because I'm putting a slab and everybody needs a half an inch extra material around the pin stop of your cutting ring, I'm able to put the slab in, and if my laser is out, which normally it's an eighth to maximum a quarter inch lasers out, I'm able to still cut the whole job correctly. It's something that is not happening. So I have maximum reliability, I have less over material on the edges, and I'm able to have reliability on the front.
All right, gentlemen, hang on just a second. Great conversation. Let's hear some questions from the audience. So.
Hey, my name is George. I'm from Indianapolis. Hey, my name is George. I'm from Indianapolis. I own a Grand Depot from Indianapolis, and I have a question for Jesse. I think when you say if you have a 3 machine, you need a 3 operator. It's like a little bit manipulation, because if you have, for example, you have a 5-axis you have 5-axis saw plus router. For sure, you have one guy, a programmer, who most likely spent full day in the office doing programming. But my question, what is doing operator? Operator, for my understanding, he just need click the button, run a machine, and use the parameter from the office. And same logical with router. He need to put the pieces, put pieces accurate with by laser or stoppers. But it doesn't mean he has to be much knowledgeable. It's much easy job. Just put pieces, click the button. Put pieces, click this button. And why you need each operator for each machine? Like if you, for example, if you have a line polisher, and you don't need 3 guys. You just need one guy who can do operating, because you don't need to be a babysitter with saw. You can just click the button and do something else.
Yeah. No, that's a.
He turned his mic off when he said his traditional.
You cannot leave one guy in the shop, because most likely when you need to move a piece, it's still a drop. When you need to move a piece back and move it forward, you need to that. If you got a truck or shipping container, you need 2 guys and then shipping container, you need 2 guys. Don't anyway, you just don't pay from one guy to the container.
Don't be misunderstood. He has 3 machines and 1 operator per machine, but he has other people in the shop. Well, not just 3 guys in the shop.
No, but I understand your question. It's a great question, and what I mean when I say I have one, it's one process. Meaning, when I used to run traditional. This was just this year, or I guess it's been over a year now, about a year and a half that I swapped my process. I had the same number of people running equipment, meaning I had 1 guy on 1 saw and 2 guys running each router. So it was still 3 people, okay? Now I wasn't doing as much footage as I am today, but the difference between now and then is it's one process, one description, one KPI, versus my saw guy was a different KPI, different training manual, I had to teach him how to do his job. Then I had to swap over and teach my CNC router guy how to do his job. And if my saw guy called in sick, of course, like every shop, my router guy can run the saw, but not the same.
Jesse, I want to ask you a couple questions about this, because in a shop, mistakes happen, and how do you guys, what's your disaster recovery? Let's say, because from what I understand, the hybrid cycle, you've got 1 cycle, and you can put up to 4 slabs, right? On certain machines. Now, right, on each side. So what happens when there's a mistake, and the slab that he starts cutting on maybe breaks, right? But then it's part of the entire cycle. How does that look? You have to take the program back in the office, redo it, delete that slab because it's junk. Or is there something at the machine that you can say, you know what, we're going to skip this zone? Because what I understand is 2 zones, 4 working, right?
That's a great question, and yes, you do need to go back into the office, but it's as easy as drawing a square around the damaged slab, hitting delete, F3, back running. I mean, whenever I go to shops to try to consult them, I think it's always wise to have a laptop out in the shop near the machines. So when you need to do something quick like that, you don't have a far journey or far walk. You had another question that somehow I don't think we answered.
We can say that about traditional machines. So depending on the type of machine, there's some that have onboard CAD/CAM where there's no programmer. The saw guy is making decisions, vein matching, nesting at the machine, and he can change things on the fly. He's usually not doing 4 slabs at once. But what we like to do at CMS, and I sell to a lot of customers that need a fast recovery, is it's called a network license, where on any computer in the shop, which means the operator panel, you can open up the Easy Stone license, modify it, switch back, because we know that by the time you walk to the office, someone's like, hey, let's smoke a cigarette, or hey, let's go on another container.
So you can put on the machine to program yourself in. Some customers do that, not the majority. Because they're pre-programmed ahead of time. So the amount of times that there is really a mistake, way
Ivan
back
is
when
coming
you
with
were
his
doing
big
that.
gun.
So George,
warning us
you had a follow-up
on
question?
the presentation.
Your second question, I just forgot because we started talking about other stuff. I don't know if I answered your first question well enough for you to understand, and then I'll repeat the second question if that's all right.
Yes. Hey, my conversation is over.
To się zatekstuj.
Microsoft process. All program must be done until it puts second control. It's not by the order. Like I said, we just in the middle cycle, the initial cycle, we need one guy who can do a full programming, and other guy who's supposed to be operator or so. People are probably pre-communicated, like you put the see that. They just micro-communicate this out, this is in. I believe they don't have too much knowledge to do that.
Yes, let me try to repeat your question. I just want to make sure I have it. I'm understanding what you're asking me, so I can answer you better. I think what you're asking me is like in traditional, whenever you're programming, you still have a program needing to be written, and you still need two people to load the job. To complete the process, it still takes two people, I think is what you're saying. A programmer, a saw operator, and a router, right?
No, I believe one guy who can handle the soul and he can handle the router. And we just need one guy in the office who can do only programming.
I
Back my buddy up here. Because I want to give an example. I sold a machine in North Carolina, one missing man. It's a double table shuffle and two routers, line machine, right? So what he does is he can cut, two slabs and then start feeding the routers, but he's got three spindles running. It's one guy because it's a father-son and they weren't finding any help. I mean, thank God it's a great kid, engineering smart. Those guys are hard to find, but with what you're saying is that by Tuesday, when he starts his day, the saw's double cabling, the routers have parts ready to go, and he's just a table jockey, because in EasyStone, he can actually kind of do a predictive pod placement, where it allows you to not have to move the pods that much, and he's got a laser projector, and then he runs one machine just with pin stops. So there's leftover material, and he can kind of decide and divide his production. And with the line machine, he sends all the straight parts there too. So I do see some facts there, but that's like every shop is different. He's an isolated case.
Unicorn. He's a unicorn employee.
I think you are too, Jesse, because in the same breath, when you had two Poseidons, what was your move to scale? Another T-Rex, or because I know you talked about a zip machine,
Right.
and I think had I talked to you sooner, you'd been like, what, just have a line machine, right?
Yes, definitely.
Exactly. I think that's a killing combination, because what that does, it takes pieces off the Poseidon that's like obviously a heavy hitting, bat wing.
Remnant vanity. Throw it on the saw, throw it through there,
That's
great.
where you maybe, had we talked, you maybe didn't need the curve.
So I do think there's more than one way to fabricate. But now I'm relying on an operator that needs to learn three more pieces of machinery, right? And to your point, and to try to answer you, even though I don't feel like I'm doing a great job, I'm gonna do my best. Different shops are different. How many square foot you're doing, how many slabs you're doing, everybody's different. That's another thing I like about the process. This particular process, if you're doing one job a day, the process does not change if you're doing 10 jobs a day. It's the same process. Doesn't matter how many jobs you're doing. So when you're first starting out, you learn WCAM, you learn hybrid cycle, you learn the T-Rex, all the way till you're doing 30 kitchens a week, 6 a day, whatever, you're still doing the same thing you learned on day one. That's where most shops, as they get busier, their processes have to change. At first, the cut guy can go pull the slabs and he can lay them down there and he can do the vein match in his own software, and it's okay that it takes him however long for that process to take place. But the busier you get, the processes change, and now the operator isn't the guy doing this job, it's somebody else doing this job.
I think that his question and his comment is that you have one guy, which is pretty cool. You have one guy running the saw and the route, right? Yes, right. Because you have one guy, but you got one guy to keep him busy. You got to have that constantly doing all the programming, right? So you're running the two machines with two guys, correct? If you took away the token amount, it would be a three guys, because two guys, that's the new people. It's a lot of time when you okay. There are some pieces, for example, you got just a minute, you got this mapao, so you find the track, right? And you have to use about a distance. You have to use it when you have to use it. You need three people, basically. What is the point? Yes, one guy who is the workers to do a program, and other two guys who work in the shop, not because of machine, because of doing this, and you will become the kind of people.
Let's get.
When you finish putting this, how do you get to point to rhythm and the processes? So you're doing maximum how many square feet with those three guys on two machines per day? Have you averaged that out? Because I'm sure it's an average of miter job. You're not going to run the miters on the router, right? So what is your average of jobs that you're doing square feet with the three people?
What is average? It's very. I have a joke about average. It's a great joke in Russian language. We have two women. One name is Nadia, one name is Luda. Nadia sleeps with only her husband, is the farmer, and other woman is co-worker. She sleeps with everybody. What is average supposed to be? And with average,
Do you average or not?
I have average. I have 800 square foot average, including 180 square foot of one side.
800 square feet a day with two routers?
No, not a day, a week.
Oh, okay, so divided by 5, so I was going to say 150 to 200. So you're at about 160, 170. No, but that's good, hold on. So let's go back, because he's got two machines, he's got three people, okay? How many people does it take to program to two T-Rexes? And you have an operator and an operator.
Well, first, if I was doing 800 feet a week, I'd have one machine.
Right.
And I'd have one.
What I'm saying, let's back up. How many square feet do you average per day? And how many square feet do you believe the T-Rex is capable of average per day? And I'm talking about combination of
I average about 250 square feet per machine. I think a T-Rex is capable of doing about 350, 400.
Okay, so, hold on. So how many people does it take to run in one T-Rex that's doing 250 a week, which is 1,000 feet? Okay? 250 a day, 1,000 feet, I'm sorry, 250 a day.
Well, I mean, that's a one-man job.
250 square feet a week.
Two men.
So how many?
Of course.
All right.
I do want to say one more thing though. In the traditional process, that guy's working.
Well,
And not if one operator is cutting 8 slabs a day.
We calculated how many hours that the operator of the T-Rex dual table is not working. In other words, he's just watching the machine working on one table. Because there comes a point, for example, when you're doing hybrid, you load it one slab here and one slab here. There comes a point after you do the cutting that you're doing these classes, and the machine will do routing here, and then this slab is just waiting for another routing cycle. So that's time that
The workload for the operator cuts in half. It's way easier.
Well, we calculated this, Jesse, and we calculated within 8 hours, how many hours do they not work?
4 hours.
Well, let's say 3. And so you're doing 250 square foot on one machine with one operator who's not working.
He's not working hard. He's not working hard to make that happen.
Jesse, I want to ask you a question just because I know everybody's thinking this. Like, what's the worst day you've had? Because, I mean, obviously you've got 3 Poseidons, but when you only have one double table, you know, if you had an issue, what did that look like? Like, what would
You mean like if a machine went down or something?
Yep.
It was the same whenever I had a saw and 2 routers if my saw went down.
Yeah. Because were your routers a 4th axis or anything? Or were they 3 axis?
They were 3 axis. So back in the day when I had the a traditional shop set up and I was cutting in 2 routers, same issue if my saw went down. You're dead in the water. Your production is 0. You're having a terrible day.
Well, let me just say something. I know he knows it, but you know, a lot of customers, when I'm selling them a traditional system, you know, I opt them out with a fourth axis with a heavy-duty gear reductor. I know it's not as torquey as a true spindle, but I mean, you can still pull 5 slabs off of a router.
And I would recommend the same thing on the traditional road.
Obviously, you're getting your pants because the machine's down. Yeah, you're going to stay late. Yeah, you're going to work hard, but that way the part's in the mail, you're back up, and you at least had some pivot where, you know, it's hard to do that when you're all in. I think that's what some people are wondering is there's a lot of pressure on that operator to get all the pods right. And I think that's where you guys are winning is that you're trying to simplify that to where it's the same. But I think it's also not that different from an Easy Stone program with automatic cam. You guys know what that is, you know what that is. Where pretty much you had AI before AI, we've been doing this for 15 years, where you set rules, so you teach it what to look for with layers. And when the guy's programming the saw, that's a scene, this is going to be full nose. It's not or layer, and then it's not pulling a blade into any of that because the blade has nothing to do with the routing. But when that program goes to the router, it's already done. So that's what's nice, and it's almost like a speed through of what people think. It's like, oh, I'm going to program this, then I'm going to program that, and that's where I like to kind of look at the shop and see, okay, what kind of shop are you? What are you trying to achieve? I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel with what you're doing because it's hard to get people to change. And I think you guys are great at that because
I don't know what you're talking about.
No. So some people, it's tough to get them to just switch gears. What you guys are doing is that you're showing them all their pitfalls to where it makes sense for them to switch. I don't have the Kaplan consulting side of things, so then I've got to kind of focus on, okay, what's the best outcome with the equipment that I do sell because that's who pays my paycheck. It's nice. None of their mics work anymore, so this is quick. But seriously, that's where I'm successful because I can see, okay, what you guys are looking for. It's music to their ears, just like the guys that are buying Poseidon, like this is.
But I think that you would be a great candidate for if you're going maybe for T-Rex because you're obviously very, very efficient and like you're cracking the whip.
All right. Hey, Joe.
No T-Rex seller.
I think that you could run 3 feet, do a bit of T-Rex.
Joe.
If you have any
There's guys out here dying to ask a question. Thank you, George, for breaking the ice. Who's up next? Who has a question for these guys?
To the stage, to the main stage.
I have no question.
Main stage. David Stout to the main stage.
David, stop. There he is.
There we go.
The man who wants to let
Get
you.
in there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, George.
What question do you
Take
have?
my spot. I gotta run. Hey guys, appreciate it. I've got to run back
Thank you, guys.
to my day job. But David's really knowledgeable. He knows everything that I know. A little
And
bit
he knows
about
what's
tools.
on everybody's mind.
Exactly.
All right, in that case, who from the audience has a question they want to ask for these guys? Thank you. Anybody? George has another one. Come on. Somebody's sitting here thinking, I don't know about this. Who's got some hesitation? Wants to know the true scoop. Jesse's telling like it is.
I don't know if the guys from Brett and Don Tony can hear me, but you guys are welcome also.
No questions?
You got another question? Hey,
All right, George, come on back.
Come back, George. Come back.
Thank you for this opportunity again. Okay, if you go back to previous conversation, it's very important what you have. If you try to, for example, audit yours, and it will be easy for days. But usually what's important, by having the clock side, what it means a lot of potential. For example, if you put it in piece of data correct, no broken, no donatoni, no Poseidon, computer. Only you can know like you put it together and do it right. This takes a lot of time. Idea that he's using only one operator, I think it works in the way, but for reality, sometimes you have to put it in pieces. Sometimes you doesn't deliver it, and you need at least the 2 guys.
You're right. I don't say that the shop needs one guy. I just mean the full-time process, and there's one, I have one guy in charge per machine. Like, he's the operator. I'm not saying he never needs a hand moving something or picking something, or setting a slab down. So I don't want to mislead you to say you do it all by yourself, which I have done many times. There's many videos of me running hybrid cycle all night long to get the job done by myself. I think there's one where I fell asleep in between the cycles. I had so much time to sit there. So you're right. You need more than one operator. And look, I'm a hybrid fan, but not everything you can cut hybrid. If you have some crazy cracks, I know it's not
I will tell you this. If you cut on max on the T-Rex, it's probably the most precise, low vibration, best cutting quality, because we have a 35 horsepower spindle. We're cutting on max. We're on top of a perfectly milled CNC bed. So the level is perfect as well. So if you have material thickness that's pretty consistent, your minor cuts will also come out really good. So even, let's just say you don't want to do hybrid. The dual table T-Rex is the fastest router in the industry, because I can work non-stop routing with no headache. It's very easy with 2 laser projectors. I double stack our tooling, so our tooling moves faster. I don't have to do 6 tool changes. Our fingerbit speed is on average twice the speed of the average router in the industry. I think that the only fingerbits that can compete is maybe on a button or the button. You know this better than I do. So I think even as a traditional machine, we have customers that cut 25, 30 slabs cutting on that in the T-Rex, if you want to use it as a slab. But as a router, we get 500 square feet in a shift, and not just quick. So either way, you're in a no-lose proposition with the T-Rex. If you do traditional, it's better quality value and across the board.
People get caught up in because you push hybrid so much, but it's like hybrid. You hear people, it's like you're
Because it's a lot to swallow, so
yeah. So if you got a job coming up, stop
it 2 seconds. It takes 2 seconds to transition.
Between traditional and minutes, because you take off the pause, you spray down the finger, you throw up the...
But I'm still a fan of hybrid cycle every time you can. Okay? Now, but we started cutting on that like pink foam stuff, and it's even faster to transition. I mean, it's 2 pieces of pink foam that weighs 1 pound. You just it's just easy and.
I'm gonna start saying dirty words. Yeah, man, we used to do that on the fat stuff. I have a question for you.
Okay, and this is a traditional cycle, but when you can exactly use the scanner with the 2 point seconds. I'm not using the 0 point. 2 point is really very accurate precision when you do it in, because I'm doing a lot of high-end afterwork. What is when next to customers is very close to this point company. And I believe because you're putting face down, you see real hard to start using a scanner, and so it doesn't use a speaker.
That's one of the solutions. So we have 3 different solutions, actually. So thank you for pushing. Absolutely. So let me just review how the laser works too when we go the flat into the machine. Okay. So this is a point that I just want to review. It's important for people to know. When you're loading pieces on the router, like a 3-axis router, you have a perfect. Okay, cool. You got the laser parts. So you laser the pin stops. It stops the grip. So I like the pin. It's more accurate. Okay.
You could still use pin stops hybrid.
Well, you could, but what I'm saying is, when I do a hybrid cycle, I have pin stop light accuracy without the inefficiency and slowness of having to use the machine to pin stop. Why? Because when I do a hybrid cycle layout, I know that the material, when I'm making my trim cuts in the layout, I'm half an inch in. I have half an inch of the material all the way around is the average my customers use. So if the laser is off by a quarter inch, I still can cut the whole job right because the blade is leaving a perfect over material where I don't have to super Z. On the hybrid, I don't super Z my walls. And on the outside edges, I don't run the super Z anymore. I just go straight to position 1. And so that's something that saves a tremendous amount of time in CNC routing. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is because I don't operate under, hey, you know what, if the laser's off, I don't care. It's a quarter inch because I have a big matching job. I have to be precise. And then big matching job, I'm going to recalibrate the laser. I'm going to measure exactly the material thickness. But the difference is, so we distribute also the D2 standards. Okay? So the stickers is one way to do it. But the other way to do it is every slabsmith, D2, any kind of federal DMSE software, it has the ability to click a button and it creates a DXF trace line around the shape of the slab with one click. So what we do with the hybrid is you do your layout the same way you're used to doing it, the way you would do it every day. Slabsmith, D2, it doesn't matter. We just save that trim line of the slab. And what we do is we bring the images and we send the DXF to the laser, and we use the laser to perfectly position the slab upside down on the outside, which is even more accurate. So we're still within the same tolerances that you are doing it face up. So this is how we do the whole thing.
So Joe, let me ask you a question that's a little bit different.
Sure.
We're talking a lot about production and volume of business and how it's done. One of the complaints that I hear, or one of the concerns I hear, has to do with maintenance and the maintainability of your equipment. Well, how would you address those concerns?
Yeah, that's actually the most funniest, ironic part about Poseidon, is that the talk around town is our service is terrible. You can't get parts. The T-Rex is literally the most lowest cost of operation, and nothing breaks on it. If I have to get my invoicing for the over 100 T-Rexes that are out there, and look at what people spend on a yearly basis, Jessica can attest to this. How much money do you guys budget into your budget for each T-Rex in spare parts? Okay.
We have 3 T-Rexes and we put $1,000 a month just to have something. But
that's $300 a month.
Yes, and just to have something. But look, I think every machine is going to have a sensor go out, a tool. I don't know, just weird little, electrical little components that might go out. But as far as the mechanical of the bridge and the spindle and we don't have any vacuum, zero issues. I know a lot of people who have T-Rexes have vacuum issues, but it's just because they're not using it properly. Zero vacuum issues, zero major. I can't think of a time I've been down with a major issue.
So to answer
Really
your
can't.
question, Rick, I'm proud to say we have the best warranties in the industry. Where we have 10 years on a vacuum pump. What company has 10 years on a vacuum pump that you've ever heard of? We've been doing this a long time. We have 5 years on an X and Y mechanical component. We have 3 years on the spindle. Okay? I've never had to honor the mechanical warranty. I've never had to honor the vacuum pump warranty. Because it's basically a router. You don't have, let me put this in perspective just to break down what this is and how efficient it is. Because there's a lot of talk going into nuances of what we know to this area. The work that you're doing to process one slab of stone to do the whole kitchen, cut and fabricate, is less work than the workshops are doing to load one cycle foot on a 3-axis router.
Way more work.
3-axis routers, you're putting in 6 or 7 pieces, you're making sure you got the
Each piece has to be perfectly placed.
And then I'm putting one slab, one time, and I'm eliminating the whole saw jet or CNC saw or salary.
The challenge you have with a 36-inch vanity, finger bitting a sinkhole on Taj Mahal and it not moving, on a 3-axis. That was my nightmare. Every time I saw a 36-inch vanity that needed to cut a sink, finger bit it, we was always just sitting there watching it, praying it didn't move. I mean, it's terrible. That problem went away with the hybrid cycle. That is no longer an issue.
All right, thank you for answering that question. I got another one for you. So, does it take a PhD to program your system?
No, so what we've been seeing is that labor, everybody's got the same challenges where labor is harder and harder to get every day. And what we've done to help with that is we have also teamed up with remote programming companies that are doing a lot of remote programming for customers. We have a bunch of customers that have 3 dual cable connections, and they're subbing out the programming completely. They just check the program. It takes them 5 minutes to program and double check it.
9 steps. We do a 9-step process. Are the pods in the right place? Is the blade going to hit a pod? Did we select the right thickness tooling? I can't remember all 9.
So also, touch on this, I believe that you usually remote programmers.
Yes.
And you're spending how much time? 15 minutes.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that.
Okay.
How many people do you have at a local?
I have one programmer local.
One programmer. Okay.
And he checks the files, and he will write some custom stuff,
And do you have a backup for him, or are you the backup?
No, I'm the backup.
All right. So you have one person locally that's doing the programming. You've got overseas help. We can assume that's less expensive.
Correct.
All right. So you don't, and your programmer doesn't have a PhD?
My programmer, not only does he not have a PhD, when he started being my programmer and I started walking away, he was 4 months in to the stone industry, not just programming, zero knowledge of stone industry.
All right. Any other, now that we've got, any more, I got another question. Okay, George, go for it.
Technical question about statistics. I think you have a one very weak spot in your hybrid cycle. You have to keep a distance for tools. After our last conversation in Chicago, this distance, yes, you have to keep some distance to other tools. After our last conversation in Chicago, I checked my program log, and I was probably about 50% of all the job need to put pieces they're tied together. And if you working with sound, we can say not only level 1 or level 2 material, what is very much to very necessary for customer side. How you avoid the problem when you create a limited for space, and you have to take additional space to do that.
So the way that we get around hard nesting and what we've done is that we're simply rearranging the program and the jobs a little different. So one thing that we've learned too, are you talking about miters or regular profile holds?
I mean, I'm not talking about only miter, I'm talking about, for example,
when you don't have enough space to be able to...
yes, you have to put 2 pieces together very tight for example, pain mechanism.
You can also use the fingertip as a cutting separation tool, only 5/8 inch diameter.
Well, I can use the blade to section cut, move this out.
So yeah, you can also do it. So everybody in the industry right now is used to cutting moves, 5-axis saws with the saw. Doing it. Because nobody on saws has a laser projector. But we do. So what you can do, and also you can put 2 slots in there. So you have the space as well to move. So you could do a cut if you wanted to, short call, takes you a couple minutes with the laser protector, you can move the piece to a new position. So you can also do what we call a laser manual cut move. Guided by the laser manual, you cut off the vacuum to the bottom of the cup, when you pick up the piece, it picks up the piece with the cups and everything. And you pick up the next piece.
All right, I have another question for you. So when you're in the hybrid mode, what's the impact on tooling?
Okay, this is a great question. So this is another nuance of a better quality process, because it's not just one hole in the process with the labor and doing one step. it's also better quality. So what happens is when I'm cutting on traditional 5-axis saws, or I'm cutting on, especially side bits, I think you need the right choice. I would never get a side bit. I would get what you have instead. Because the cable level is really more true than Artifactor sitting on top of a bunch of beat up slabs on a side bit cable. Okay, 100%. Because when you do a cut there, the pieces sometimes will pinch the blade. They have to fall after the separation to get the work, right? When you're cutting on the hybrid cycles, for the first time ever in the industry, we have the best cutting quality. The blades last longer per linear foot. You can measure this. Wow. Because the blade is cutting through, it's perfectly perpendicular. When you cut a lot on this table, you're going to have a little bit of off level. If the table is off level, and the blade cut is slightly crooked. So when you go to put it on the rider, and the wheels are coming in to eat the face, the edge is like this or like this. Now imagine the shops that you work with that have 3 sockets and 6 sockets, and they're taking cases of stone that are cut on socket tables that are left-sided, and that blade cut plus add water jet cuts into there. You're beating up all your profile wheels. You're beating up your Super Z, and what you beat up your Super Z translates to your edge tools. It beats up your edge tool. Now you're at a dressing station. Now you gotta get a tool setter. Now you gotta constantly buy Super Z's. Well, when we cut hybrid, we're cutting on perfectly level surface. So for the first time ever, the blade is guaranteed 100% to cut vertical, perpendicular. So have even lower on the blade motor. It's better for the machine. Number one. Number two, I'm cutting through the material so it's better cooling because I'm not stuck inside a table where it's hot because the story of the front shot out the backside and it's staying back from the bottom. And so when I cut perfectly vertical and I have perfect positioning from the blade cut leaving the over material, I skip the Super Z on the outside edges of my router because the Super Z is only going to ruin my beautifully cut vertical edge. Our tooling needs less rusting and it's very better than traditional fabrication.
Is that your experience?
100%. The over material we cut in half, what we used to do when we would use pin stops. Pin stops, I think.
You don't use a Super Z ever on walls.
Yeah, you don't need to use that, a Super Z. You really don't need to use a Super Z at all, really. There was a time when I was the operator and I had the machine perfectly dialed in, we would start with position 2. We didn't need even position 1.
Do you used to have a saw jet? I mean a water jet?
I had one for about 6 months and I couldn't keep it running. So
Couldn't keep it running.
yeah, it was used and it was too much maintenance and
You only scratch something with like a stack stone backsplash and you scrub it, right? Or not even, right?
there's about 3 options. We go around my programmer and me of which way's the fastest for the machine to run, the easiest to program, and pick one. There's more than one way, but you can just bring it off about an 1/8 inch, run a straight line, bring a feet. Yeah, I just blade cut it. Because you're upside down. You can overlap the blade. You can overlap the blade cut to where it meets perfect underneath. It doesn't. So even in the inside corner, if you overlap that blade cut, you learn your measurement. Mine's 73 millimeters. If I extend that cut 73 millimeters and this one's 73, you won't see it at the top at all. It'll make a perfect cut, whatever the DXF5 is. I couldn't even figure that out. It says 4 o'clock. That's right.
Every wall.
Not every wall, every section, every section is the full piece of land because I want to do the code for customers and like that. Not the wall. Sometimes I also use economic routine. If I can avoid the situation and get up with my bottleneck today, I'm using economic beats in the soul. If I can bottleneck, I'm using super seeds at all.
I heard him say the word bottleneck. That's my next favorite thing with hybrid. There is no more bottleneck. It's the same process. There's no bottleneck. As you grow and as work comes in, it's the same process. You don't, oh, I can cut a lot, now I need another router. Or I can route faster than I could cut, we need dual table. You eliminate the bottleneck. It's just one process.
You actually have one constraint that you can optimize.
Wait, say that again?
You have one constraint that you can optimize, maximize the return on your investment.
Yes.
We should probably cover what this means in terms of $2 improvement in profitability.
We probably should.
If anyone is managing a shop and they're struggling and it's very difficult to play quarterback, that means we're gonna run this job this way and you do this and hey, you do that, and this is a lot of shops. The general manager is constantly quarterbacking every move throughout the shop, constantly. And that's what the hybrid cycle really did for me. It eliminated needing the quarterback. It just runs the same way every day, every job, same process, no bottleneck. Get the job program, get the slab by the machine, hit start. There's no figuring it out.
Jesse, it sounds like your shop's a lot simpler to run these days.
It's enabled me to be able to walk away. For 20 years, I had to be the first guy there. For 20 years, I couldn't leave till it was all done, and I had to be there in case the saw guy didn't show up or the lead router guy didn't show up. I couldn't leave, and now I'm able to walk away for sure.
How many hours a week did you average last year in the shop?
Well, last year was a learning curve for me, so that was the year I did some shop renovating. So I don't want to really count that. It was a lot. It was probably close to 60. Well over some weeks.
These past years since April or May, that you moved to football, part-time moved to football.
I don't go to the shop unless somebody's there visiting. I don't even go. Now, don't get me wrong. Every time I go, I see something that I want to strangle somebody, but it runs, and it's the production. The guys. I tell my guys this: if you keep meeting the KPIs, key performance indicators, I'm gonna give you some rope.
So the key to business is to develop a business that's a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Since I have a special question for you, I understand you cannot speak from somebody else, but I know previously KBIS approved a very acute fashion with those results like I say your hands but they don't use it anymore. Why do you think that?
No, they never did. They never did the hybrid cycle. All the centers that you've seen out there, they've done split processes. That's why nobody, because I've been I sold to over 600 shops and I've been in over 1,000 shops already in the country. And the majority of routers is a 3-axis router. There's 5% of shops there. If the shop is a router with a blade. If it was efficient, I think that there would be a lot more. Now, the reason that it's not efficient is because the blade speeds have never been fast. Because it's a blade attached to the carriage of a 3-axis router, which is very lightweight. The other thing is we're still doing split processes on a single cable. Thank you so much. We're doing split process, so they're putting the slab on foam and they're cutting with a slow blade. Then they still have to take the pieces off, put them on the car, flip them over, then grab them again, put them in, and load it like a 3-axis router. So you have a lot of dead time because the machine is waiting to be loaded and unloaded and more. So this is why they advertise on their website 110 square feet with a helper in one day of production. But on the vehicle or 2-axis, we heard 250 square feet minimum with one operator. You don't need 2 guys. Because really that operator, he's already alternating for 3 hours out of the shift. I know you have a couple more questions. Go ahead. No, I don't know. We're here also tomorrow, if you're here tomorrow. If you have other questions that you think about tonight, I can do that too. No, you can just go tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely. Take your time. Justin, thanks for being here.
Go ahead.
Pistachio, chocolate, or this one?
I gotta be honest, I left it at Ricardo's. I did, I'm sorry. I need to go by there because I left 2 sets of Oma tools, all my combs and blades. Yeah, well, your blade, your water, all this affects the cut, the chipping, the alignment. Like you have to understand your tooling no matter what machine you have. I dropped it off and used to just run position 2.
So you drop off on the outside, you off the truck, you drop off the sequencer?
I used to. John runs position 1 now.
And they all look the same, the guys.
And when they do run Super Z, and I don't know what makes them run it or not, they run it twice as fast because it's taking off such a small amount. When you have a 3-axis and whether you're using pin stops or laser and you're lining that machine up, you're eating off double the amount with your Super Z than you are hybrid. So you can speed up the Super Z and get the same performance out of it.
Alright, the question is why are we not using an automatic tool change for the blade? Right?
Yes, because for me, I think it's, you can do, usually I'm doing in my shop. If you get some, kind of, like a Taj Mahal or Cipro, usually release, just all apply circuit and leave for the same result. We leave, also apply circuit and leave for all the before. They also ask to give additional really protect the release blade. I think we have to change another object. I know it's really 5 seconds, but the 5 seconds that we have to spend.
So legally, we don't condone leaving the machine working by itself.
And no one should, honestly.
With as profitable as you're going to be with our machinery, you should be okay like leaving a guy there until the machine finishes cycling. Now, with that being said, we're a practical company. We're all about innovation, but we're also about true practicality. So, for instance, we don't use a probe to measure the blade length. Because the probe, they make in 2 ways, with a laser or either with a spring-loaded little button that is made to wear out so they can resell you the $10,000 probe. So it's unreliable, it's very easy. The guy's already not working, that's for sure. You can bring the blade down. It touches down. It takes a few seconds. And the other thing is, when we did try to make the blade do the automatic pushing, it took the safety to it because you have to do it in a way very slow so that there's a quick connect to the water. It's got O-rings and stuff. And if the blade gets dirty, and maybe the operator is not cleaning it or spraying it down, which, believe it or not, I don't know if you have operators that sometimes don't stand up and maintenance. What's going to happen is you might have an anomaly where we're going to connect.
I found a friend who's like chocolate.
One out a week, which isn't good. Number 2, it took over 1 minute to do